2024, not a great year for zero running back. But are we set for a bounce back, especially on DraftKings? Full PPR bonuses should be a little bit better for the superstar wide receivers and for some cheaper running backs. Can we draft the winning DraftKings Millie Maker team here in 2025 with the zero RB team? That's what we're going to try to do today here at Spike Week. Let's find out. Happy Wednesday. I had to think for 2 seconds about what day it was. I'll be perfectly honest with you. That's when we know we're in the thick of it. We're in the heart of the summer. We're in the heart of best ball season, hot best ball summer, whatever, all the stuff that we like to say. Welcome in to Spike Week. Thank you for joining me. We are going to draft, get back to my roots, right? If you were hanging out last Friday, did a robust running back team, which honestly was a lot of fun. I enjoy drafting some different structured teams, but we're getting back to the zero running back roots. I do actually believe I'm not foregoing all the early running backs. I actually like a lot of teams that are not technically zero running back, but I believe that 2025 is a phenomenal year, especially on DraftKings.com for some zero running back. There's a ton of great running back values later. The superstar wide receivers are as good as they've ever been. Same thing for the superstar tight ends. We got elite quarterbacks. We got all sorts of stuff that are coming together to make an awesome year for zero running back. Will that happen? I don't know. Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, these guys can go scorched earth at any moment. But I think on DraftKings, especially this year, is a phenomenal year for zero running back. While you're coming in, thank you for joining. If you can hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, we would really, really appreciate it. Because full transparency, another tornado supposedly touched down on the west side of St. Louis today. I am far east, so we should, fingers crossed, be okay. But it probably seems a little darker in here than usual for a 4 p.m. local time. It's normally nice and bright and sunny and all that kind of stuff. So if you hear some booms, if you hear my dogs going crazy, which is not abnormal for a draft stream with me, if you hear some chaos or some thunder, some lightning, some pouring rain, bear with me. That is the best ball gods raining down on me and letting me know to stop drafting zero running back. He brings a tornado for when I'm going to draft a zero running back team on stream. So if that's not a sign from the best ball gods, I'm not sure what is, but we're still going to put it to the test here in a minute. Got to catch up with everybody in the chat. What's up, Mac? We're definitely about to draft the winner. Ross says it's so easy to go wide receiver first this year, but the value left at the end is ridiculous. It's never been this hard for me to make my last 3 bench picks. Nice. I like it. Don't sleep on Krosky Merritt, Devin Neal this year. Big value. I'm not on the Krosky Merritt train, but I get it. I do like Devin Neal, so I am I'm with you. Versaire better, yeah. If we get into a friends and family draft here with a bunch of the Spike Weekers, Rashee Rice is probably not going to fall down to ADP is my expectation. Also, for anyone that did not happen to, or has not really maybe been as in tune. I mean, it is only June 4th. If you've not been as in tune with the news going around, OTAs and workouts from before OTAs and all that kind of stuff, seems like Rashee Rice is good to go. So the legal issues seem to be not something that's going to be in play this year, and the health seems to be completely fine. So I actually bumped him up again. I was already ahead of him in the rankings. I just put a rankings update out for all sites, all formats. I got to do some tweaks for you subscribers for Eliminator and Marathon and Drafters and some of those Superflex. So that will be on the coming horizon here this evening, but moved up Rashee Rice yet again. If you want to get rankings for all these different sites, right? We don't focus only on Underdog. We don't focus only on DraftKings or only on Drafters. We are everywhere. We have rankings for Eliminator and Fast Draft and everything, but we also offer for all the sports, right? So NFL is king, fantasy football is king. But if you want to play some baseball, baseball is often running, but playoff baseball, best ball tournaments are going to be a lot of fun. We'll have college football. If you haven't played college football best ball, if you didn't play last year on Underdog and you're in a state or can get to a state that will allow you to play, honest to God, it was maybe the most fun I've ever had playing best ball. So we'll have rankings and content out for that. We'll have NBA again, right? I know the NBA finals are starting tomorrow night. We're going to make sure to get NHL out next year, PGA, everything. So any sport essentially that is offered for best ball this coming year, we're going to have rankings and content for all of it. And it comes with one subscription, right? You pay $40 a month or $299 a year, and poof, you get absolutely everything. You don't got to do all this nonsense of, okay, I got to pay this subscription for the tools. I got to pay this for baseball. I got to pay this for football. No, one price. You get absolutely everything here at Spike Week. So let's double check the chat here. Gessen's got 38% Rice. Smart move to pack the bags before this inevitable rise. John, smart man, you came to the right place. You're going to get some awesome running back value here. Zeus, 32% and $912 of Rashee Rice. Pretty good. I would say a mortgage payment, if you will, on Rashee Rice before the rise that is incoming. Major respect. But let's go ahead and get into this draft so I can try to beat the tornado. DraftKings Millie Maker, 4 out of 12. So we should hopefully be able to get a nice full-on friends and family draft going here, which should be a lot of fun, and certainly a lot of fun for folks that, like John, that wanted to come in and scoop up some running back values, because if it's a bunch of us and I'm specifically talking about doing a zero running back team, I would imagine that this is a great place to get your running back values today. Ross says, I feel like B-Rob and Krosky Merritt are going to split snaps, and Eckler is going to be like a fullback blocker special. So I don't think that Austin Eckler is going to be a fullback blocker type. Definitely not his skill set. But though my word of caution is that they have multiple other backs still around. Krosky Merritt is not even a lock to make the roster. He might, but that's going to be at the detriment of guys who straight up got to play last year and have been pretty good, whether that be Jeremy McNichols or Chris Rodriguez. So that's it. I'm not currently drafting Krosky Merritt. I am open to drafting Krosky Merritt when we start to get some camp news and such, and like, oh, Krosky Merritt is working in with the ones or whatever, right? That those kinds of things that we get during the summer. But that's kind of how it's funny that you bring that up, because in the chat today, in the Discord today, which of course also comes as a part of the premium subscription, you get access to the Discord. If you don't want to buy the tools and you don't want to buy the rankings, you can also just pay $5 a month and join all the premium sections of the Discord. You can join it for free and get access to like the draft review channel and some support and some small different stuff. All the good stuff comes with one of the subscriptions. But we were talking about the Raiders, right? Because a lot of these superstar running backs, Saquon, Bijan, Gibbs, even down to JT and Achane and whatever, the backup or potential backup or other backs in the backfield are getting drafted often quite high, because that backfield is clearly valuable. If something happens to Saquon Barkley, you might see a mad dash to try to get Will Shipley in this draft, my highest owned player in best ball. If something were to happen to Saquon Barkley, if something were to happen to Bijan Robinson, even for a game, those guys are so valuable. The Raiders, however, do not have another back. Raheem Mostert kind of gets drafted, right? Kind of. But we don't really know how the backfield behind Ashton Genty is going to shake out. So right now, how I'm approaching it is I feel okay waiting. By the time we start to get that news, you can still do hundreds. You could do 1,000 more drafts by the time we actually start to learn who the Raiders backup is and who is the potential third back, or what's going on with Krosky Merritt and those other backs in the Washington backfield. I'm comfortable waiting that out and drafting a little bit more with some of the guys that I have a little bit more certainty that they are the backup or they're on the team or those kinds of things. So that's how I'm thinking about it with Washington as well as Vegas. Yeah, Mac asked, solo draft today. Wednesdays will be solo drafts because in that Discord that I mentioned before, a perk of being in the Discord is every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we do what we call the lab, where we get in the lab, a bunch of people come together. Anyone that is a premium member of the Discord gets to join. We hang out. Myself's there. Rob, who does shows with me and also does a Sunday morning stream here on Spike Week. Hacker, the wonderful CTO, Bernie's in there a lot of times, and a bunch of the super, super smart people in the Discord. We all get together kind of for a hangout on Wednesdays, and that's at 6 p.m. Eastern immediately after this show. So we hang out. People bring questions, thoughts, ideas. I'll bring some terrible ideas to the table. I'll bring some good ideas to the table. But who knows? We'll talk through the latest news. We'll talk through some strategies and all that kind of stuff. And kind of the group conversation helps everybody get a little bit better. Definitely a friends and family draft. We got Big Country over here. Let's see. Bernie, obviously in here. Super John back in here. D-Lou, shout out D-Lou. I know D-Lou would be in here crushing our zero RB souls while putting together probably the best team in here. Super John and D-Lou doing the same thing. And Y-Dad at the 101. It's a great day. Look at this. This is working out all right. We get Bijan, Saquon, and Gibbs going off the board. Zeus says, I'm pretty sure Algier has been the best pick in best ball since Bijan got drafted. Brother, I am with you. I had Tyler Algier on somewhere around 60. I drafted 1,500 best ball teams last year and profited by the skin on my chinny chin, or the hair on my chinny chin, the skin on my ass. What's it? Anyway, not important. Amon-Ra goes, so we're gonna do neighbors because it's our running back team. Tyler Algier across those 1,500 teams was on 60% of my teams. Obviously, Bijan never went down, but Tyler Algier is a proven known commodity, really good running back in the NFL in a good situation. He just happens to play behind a superstar, and he still gets to play. There's games he gets 15 touches while Bijan is playing. So I'm going to keep hammering Tyler Algier. And the great thing about these guys, Tyler Algier, Will Shipley, these backups to the superstars, right? Whether it's Garendo or Jordan James, whatever. Last year was Jordan Mason, is that you can draft them on any team. You can draft. Do you like Bijan? Well, you can still take Will Shipley on Bijan teams. I'm not so into the handcuffs on my first round picks, but if that's something you like to do, I don't think it's crazy. You can draft these are just the best picks, in my opinion, in all of best ball. And it feels uncomfortable because it's a fairly binary scenario. The starter in front of them misses time or he doesn't miss time. He gets hurt or he doesn't. And so it sometimes you need it to be at the right time, but that's why the cost is so cheap and the payoff is so big. So I find it interesting that Ladd goes in front of London. I don't have Ladd on any neighbors teams. So I am going to, as you can see here, I have 11% Ladd, but I don't have him. I have 17% London with Malik Neighbors. So I'm going to do Ladd, but I do kind of find it interesting that Ladd has risen up above London, AJ Brown, etc. Ladd is awesome, but just an interesting little subplot. That's funny. I like this take from Martin. It's okay to go rookie heavy, but don't. Yeah, I think rookie heavy is great. Rookies alongside the contingent value plays like backup running backs, or Ricky Pearsall was a contingent value play. He happened to be a first round pick and also a contingent value play. Maybe a Emeka Egbuka is kind of this year's much more expensive in drafts, but still, nonetheless, at kind of the potential of Ricky Pearsall-ish. I don't think he's never going to play like Ricky Pearsall. I also don't think he's going to get shot before the season is. I think Egbuka will probably just give up the Rolex instead of taking a bullet for it. But the contingent value plays and the rookies are often what define the season. People love to think about it as the first rounders and the second rounders and the veterans who smash. And of course, those are very important. But the most mispriced assets, almost every season, are rookies and contingent value plays. Think Bucky Irving. And I mentioned Ricky Pearsall because he ended up being one of the best picks in best ball. You just had to find a way to get to the playoffs with essentially getting 0 from him for the entire season. But then in the playoffs, he became a really huge asset for you. But again, Bucky Irving, right? Kyron Williams before him, Puka Nacua as a rookie, Justin Jefferson as a rookie, Garrett Wilson as a rookie, Chris Olave as a rookie, on and on and on and on, right? All of these guys, Rashee Rice, they're all Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, right? All of these guys are huge, huge hits. It can change year to year, what position they're at and where we have to draft them at, right? Like Brian Thomas was a 7th round pick or so. Brock Bowers was a 9th or a 10th round pick or so. But look what happens when those rookies hit. They go to the first round of drafts. Like as much as we might love, you think Calvin Ridley is underpriced. Like Calvin Ridley is just never going to do what a Brock Bowers, a Brian Thomas, a Ladd McConkey, et cetera, are going to do. And so doesn't mean that veteran doesn't have a place on teams. It just means that the best picks in best ball almost every year, no matter what, are rookies / young players, not just rookies / young players, and these contingent value bets. And if you can kind of get both of them combined down into one, even better. Yeah, I mean, not every high draft pick hits. Ben Sinnott was a 2nd rounder, and he plays tight end. But Brock Bowers was pretty good. That Brock Bowers fella, not bad at football. Sam Laporta was a 2nd round pick at tight end. Pretty good rookie season. Tight end 1 overall. C-Spot Run says Zero RB feels so bad this year. Aside from a few guys, it feels like a complete coin flip as you're going to get serviceable numbers. I don't really agree with that, but let's make our pick here. Let's get a little JSN. Don't have much JSN. The room is not going to give me, obviously. Rashee Rice goes at the 1-2 turn with Marv. A little T fault. That's nice. CD McBride T, I guess. A lot of the times that's in a different order. Maybe I'm trying to remember a lot of the drafts that I've seen with T Higgins and Trey McBride. Nonetheless, see, this is nice. Getting Garrett Wilson and Tyreek, getting AJ Brown and Devontae with your superstar is a great feature of taking these early running backs on DraftKings. A lot of the times on Underdog or on Drafters, this opportunity is not available to us. So this year, while we're sitting here talking about zero running back, I love zero running back. Everyone that knows me knows that. But on DraftKings, I'm being a lot more flexible. I'm mixing and matching. I'm trying to exploit different combos that I can't get on other sites, right? Like Saquon Barkley, I'm actually not in love with Saquon with AJ Brown, but nonetheless, if it was Drake London, Saquon, Drake London, Devontae Adams is a phenomenal start. It's a phenomenal start. And so I'm not going to avoid those kinds of starts. The reason why we want to draft zero running back teams is because we can't get maybe as much wide receiver firepower with the superstar running backs on, say, an Underdog or Drafters. But on DraftKings, the beauty of DraftKings.com is that that's not an issue. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. But like, this gentleman next to me, Josh, I apologize if you're here, but starting Genty, Henry, Josh Allen is probably going to run into some wide receiver issues, right? When Xavier Worthy is your wide receiver 1. Let's see. DJ Moore. No, I have a bunch of T-Mac. I have 50% of my JSN teams have T-Mac, but look, I can't help it. Okay. They play in week 17. Let's have a little bit of fun. Little T-Mac and JSN week 17 correlation. I knew that wasn't. I saw Big Country is in the 112 in this draft. I knew that there was absolutely no chance that I was getting Kittle. Kittle would be sweet. I've made it a very big priority. I made it a big priority to get all 3 of the elite tight ends, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and George Kittle. But George Kittle has started to jump out as like, he's not going to be the best tight end in the NFL for the next however many years. That's the Bowers and McBride like case. And those guys are absolute superstars. But I can get The tight end one from last year. No more Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk injured. San Francisco 49ers defense taking a very real hit this year. Who knows what's up with CMC? We all assume CMC is going to be just fine, but also CMC is great in the passing game. I'd argue better in the passing game than he even is as a runner. They just paid Brock Purdy. So building around the passing game, who is to say that George Kittle isn't the focal point of a potent San Francisco 49ers passing game? And I can get him, in the 4th round and still get, do you want Saquon? Do you want superstar wide receivers? Do you want, a bunch of this other stuff that isn't available if you take Trey McBride or if you take Brock Bowers? I am ahead in the ranks on Bowers and McBride, but also on Kittle. And then it takes a while before I'm ahead in the rankings on a tight end. You got to get down to like the Njokus and the Fergusons and the Goddards. You got to get down to that range, likely, who I love, all of those guys. But the top 3 guys are awesome, and Kittle is a really nice discount from those guys. Kittle is a hard fade for me. What are we doing? He's heading into age 13 and his 6 rounds more expensive than. I mean, George Kittle, he's older, but Travis Kelce's been spent. I'm not that worried about the age. See, I don't think that range is that great in the 4th round. It's like DJ, like I like all the wide receivers, but they all have their own red flags. George Kittle was the best tight end. Like everybody, we love to talk about Brock Bowers and we love to talk about Trey McBride. George Kittle was setting the world on fire last year at tight end. He's still playing at the peak of his powers. We have no real indication that he's falling off. Age 32 for a tight end is like not that big of a deal to me. I get that. I get, guys fall off at any age, but that's why he's cheaper. If he was 26 doing what he's doing, he would go next to Brock Bowers, but he doesn't. We get a discount because he's 32. So I can get, right. Brock Bowers went next to Brian Thomas and Nico Collins and Ladd McConkey and what have you. I think he's a great pick. Shout out other Eric with a K. Shout out Eric Grubbs. Welcome. Thank you. And yes, I could not agree more. Deebo is gone and Ayuk blew out his knee. Ayuk, who knows what we're going to get from Ayuk this season, right? Damn. I'm not allowed to take any of these running backs. Okay. Laporta, Jesus Christ. Ridley. Let's do my guy Chris Godwin. I can't help it with Godwin. No, don't you dare compare Noah Fant to George Kittle. This is also Pro Bowl. Andy Dalton was making Pro Bowls every single year. Making the Pro Bowl is not. He's in the Pro Bowl probably because George Kittle's playing in the Super Bowl. Right? Amen. Amen. What a phenomenal emoji too, by the way. I see what you're saying. I see you were talking about Bowers. My apologies. When you see this and when you hear my comment in a few seconds, just to know that I thought you were talking about Noah Fant turning to dust and George Kittle taking the Noah Fant path, which of course would be silly, but I get what you're saying. I don't think I'm not worried about Brock Bowers or Trey McBride. I like Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and George Kittle is all. I think that they're awesome picks. They're awesome picks in zero running back rooms as well, and just awesome picks in any structure. Good God. I have yet to take Sam Laporta, and I really don't want to. Let's do. I would love to set up a stack here. No, let's do Chris Olave. I don't have a ton of Chris Olave. If there's ever a room to go ahead and lock up Chris Olave, I think it is this. I think you can be a little bit nicer, Pi, but I agree with the sentiment. I think we actually had, or at least I brought this up in the Discord, I think today when somebody we were talking about Njoku, when somebody said like, oh, he only did this because of Flacco, right? And certainly he was helped by Flacco a couple of seasons ago, but he was actually on pace for more targets, more touchdowns, more all of that last year. And he played with some combination of dog shit at quarterback. And what I believe in terms of just football, this isn't fantasy football, just like how football works is if you have really, really good players, you don't intentionally use shittier players because that's my thing, right? And if you do, you should trade those guys away, or you're probably just not going to cut it as an NFL head coach. I don't think that teams do that. Like I've never been a part of a team that said that's our best player. Let's throw it to our fourth best player because he plays this position that historically my offense hasn't used. It's like historically your offense hasn't had Brock fucking Bowers on it, right? If you had Brock Bowers, you probably would say, okay, yeah, I think we're going to throw it to that guy because he's our best player. That's kind of how I just tend to think about it. It's like, let's use a little bit of common sense in how real life football. These coaches are trying to score as many points as they can. They're trying to win as many games as they can. Throwing the ball to Trey Tucker more than Brock Bowers, right? Even throwing the ball to Jacoby Myers more than Brock Bowers doesn't help you win more. You need to use your best players. The Chiefs have used Travis Kelce. The 49ers have used George Kittle, right? And on down the list, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, and whatever. They bounced. Some of these guys bounced around. Not all of them. A lot of them stayed, right? But Tony Gonzalez goes from team to team. Everybody keeps using Tony Gonzalez because guess what? Tony Gonzalez is a baller. And when you're best, when he's one of your best pass catchers, you figure out how to get them the ball. Respect to Mac. I agree. Self-reflection. So we can't draw any conclusions about Pete Carroll's priority for tight end after 14 seasons when he never prioritized it. Not you can't compare, right? It's kind of the basic apples and oranges. Show me when he had the best receiving tight end prospect of all time. If you show me where in those 14 seasons he had Brock Bowers or peak Travis Kelce or Trey McBride, if you show me the seasons when he had that, then sure. And if you can directly tell me that I feel very confident that he's going to throw the ball to Trey Tucker and Jack Besh and not throw the ball to Brock Bowers. Also, he didn't have Geno his whole career. He had Russ, right? Will Dissly has probably still gotten paid because of his seasons with Pete Carroll. Colby Parkinson because of Pete Carroll. Right. Noah Fant is still kicking around, even though he's absolutely fucking terrible because of Pete Carroll. He actually got a lot out of crappy tight ends. It's just they used a bunch of them because they were crappy. So I wouldn't even say that he didn't prioritize them. I think that they all outproduced what their talent levels were. All right. We're finally into a little bit more of the fun range. The gloves are off. We can draft the running backs. Although 4% Baker. Yeah. I think this is a DeAndre Swift team, which is just disgusting. But, not sure if you guys are aware, but DraftKings is full point PPR and DeAndre Swift is a pass catcher. So it's only fitting if we draft him on our zero running back team on this site. Not today, Sam. We're dipping out after this draft is over to head to the lab in the Spike Week Discord. And but we are going to do this summer. The last couple of years we've done slow draft 555 content on DraftKings where myself and a couple other guys will record kind of every time we're on the clock a small conversation about us. And then I usually like to save my 555 stuff for later in the summer. When I'm firing my most expensive bullets, I like to have as much information as possible. I don't think that the edge is so huge early on in the 5-5-5. Boy, this is not good. Let's just do Baker then. Good Lord. That range is atrocious. I'm sorry, I don't like Travis Kelce. I apologize to the Kelce stands. Gaston says, "What's with the Pacheco's recent rise?" I think he was just underpriced before. This is maybe a little more rich, but it's such a dead running back zone. You know, like you got the rookies, like after whatever you want to call it, after Connor, after Ken Walker, after Chuba, like Demont. I like Demont. I've got a good clip of Demont, but we're talking about a veteran. He's not a backup. It's hard to 1B. I call him the 1B back for the Lions. Getting older. Who knows? Who knows exactly how this year is going to shake out for David Montgomery? I'm still drafting him, but would I be surprised if he kind of started to take more of a backseat to Jahmyr Gibbs? No. And then you just get into like, I like Caleb Johnson. Quinshon Judkins is fine. Tony Pollard, I like, but Aaron Jones, you're just in this mush range. DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Pacheco. It's like somebody's got to go there. And so I think Pacheco is just like, I don't know. We were drafting him much higher last year. He's healthy now, and he's on the Chiefs. So I think it's just kind of like a combination of a bunch of different things, not necessarily anything specific, that he's done or coach quotes or anything like that. Release yourself, Breezy. Release yourself from the shackles that are bye weeks. I can't tell you the last time I cared about, unless it's like Eliminator or like maybe on Drafters or in the Marathon or something like that. I just like don't care about the bye weeks. I understand the potential concerns about it, but like if you lose a couple points in a bye week because you have too many running backs on bye, theoretically, that means in the regular season there's 13 other weeks that you have more guys than your opponents have on bye, so you can gain a little bit. Right? I lose, like I'm just using random math, right? I lose 10 points in their bye week. I don't even know what their bye week is. Week 8, week 10, whatever. In week 8, I lose 10 points because both of my best 2 running backs are on bye. For 13 other weeks, I can't crawl back 0.75 points in each one of those weeks, right? Because now I'm supercharged. Now I got everybody in all those other weeks. So I just don't even think it's that big of a deal. I don't want my whole entire team on bye in one individual week for sure. But I just don't really worry about it too much. See, I should have taken one of the 49ers guys, but I'm gonna go get, as you can see here, 44% Jordan Mason and a whole bunch of Jordan Mason on all of these different teams with all these different players that I have. He is one of the best zero running back clicks, I think, of this season. Certainly a little bit better in half point PPR, all of that nonsense, but just give me dudes on the Vikings who score touchdowns. That seems good. I'm down for touchdowns on the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, this is a safe space for all sorts of fun. From what I remember in years past, we went 0 RB to try to get an elite quarterback tight end. This year, it doesn't feel right because so many mid-round running backs. I have FOMO, so setting up on 0 QB, 0 QB. I would say a potential perk of 0 running back is getting elite quarterback and elite tight end, but it's not you can just get superstar wide receivers, and then if you want to take some cheaper quarterbacks, maybe your first running back is a little bit more expensive than usual, or you're taking more quarterbacks or more tight ends. Like this is definitely going to be a 2 quarterback team for me, but it also probably is going to be a 3 tight end team. So now I can more easily take tight ends because I don't need as many wide receivers because I took 6 air quotes superstar wide receivers: Malik Neighbors, Lab McConkey, JSN, T-Mac, Chris Godwin, Chris Olave. That's the foundation of my wide receiver room. I might take another, right? Sometimes you got to have a little flexibility to set up stacks and all that kind of stuff, but I don't have that much need for much more wide receiver firepower. So it frees me up to be very flexible in my quarterback room, like you mentioned, tight end room, and of course the running back room. I'm sorry, Scataboo, but I just can't do it. we're going. Ooh, I have 100% of Sharbs with 100% of Sharbs with Baker. Do I care about that? I don't think so. So let's do Charbonnet. He also kind of a little more Seattle bet here. I really like to do what I call secondary correlations, right? Secondary stacks, secondary correlations, whatever the hell you want to call it. When I've drafted, it doesn't even have to be with the quarterback, so you can stack without the quarterback, but just having little pairings, stacks of individual offenses gives you upside over the course of the entire season in the scenario in which Seattle's just better on offense, right? Seattle is a really good offense. The Sam Darnold thing was real, right? Last year, hurrah. Kevin O'Connell solved the Sam Darnold riddle. We're not expecting that, but if it's true, great. Now I have multiple Seahawks over the course of the season that were all probably underpriced because the expectation is they're not a very good offense. But then you also get the playoff stuff where I just get Seattle into one or two game environments over the course of weeks 15, 16, and 17, where ideally in week 17, where they're in this shootout and they happen to play Carolina, who is a pretty good team, to be hoping for a shootout. And now I have multiple shots at accumulating points from that game. Maybe it isn't JSN, but maybe it is Sharbs, right? Maybe it's Cooper Kupp. Maybe it's whatever. It gives me a bunch of outs to finding those big games because I made a bet on a team, even if I made the bet on the team without the quarterback. All right, let's hear this. Let's hear this bit from Nick. Got a recommended video during work this morning, and it was last year, and it was me and full transparency, very, very biased because it was a video that I was on with my good friend Ben Gretsch, who's one of the best to do it, and he and I both really got into the Eliminator on Underdog last year. We had what I think was a great conversation. So if you're looking, it's a little bit different because they changed the format, but I do still think the foundation of the conversation is very relevant. You can find it on Spike Week. You can probably search Eliminator strategy and it comes up somewhere. Eliminator, Spike Week, whatever. Nick says he was 30 minutes in and thought you guys were talking about last year's, or you thought we were talking about this year's structure. And then we started talking about week 17 with things like Baltimore and Houston, who of course played last year. Houston, of course, plays the Chargers in week 17 of this season. But that's not bad. We've all done far worse than look at there's so much. I mean, my God, my YouTube having obviously operating a YouTube channel that is focused on best ball content. I get recommended a lot, and I do watch some best ball content. I get recommended a lot of best ball videos on YouTube. And so I don't think I would not be ashamed of that. There's far worse things to have happen than think you were watching a video from this year when you were watching one from last year. That's funny. 10 months. Wow. All right. Let's see. Loveland actually works a little bit here. We got Swift. We don't have a tight end. Loveland is a nice little bet here, who I don't have a ton of. Let's do Loveland. I'm cool with that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Bernie. I moved Jaden Blue up in the rankings to in the 170s, I think. I was being too stubborn before with my Jaden Blue rank. So we put him at a more appropriate price in the 170s. That's funny. C-Spot Run. I love your draft tools, but it's like $1,400. And you feel like you have a tariff on them. The annual subscription is $299 or $40 a month. If you don't want to do annual, you can do $40 a month. Okay, now my question is, I really like Tajay. He really fits the zero running back thing, but I also really like Isaiah Likely, Dallas Goedert, and the tight ends available here. what's my running back room? Swift, Mason, and Sharbs. Let's do Tajay. God damn it. See, this is a good spot in the draft though, where I like a bunch of those tight ends. I like several running backs, including Tajay Spears. Being willing to pull somebody up. Now, maybe if Loveland wasn't there, I could pull up Tajay and then get one of the tight ends available here at the pick at 136 that I just made. But those are some of the flat tiers that I want to move guys around a little bit and see how I can get some different combinations as opposed to just, right, my Tajay team is never going to have Isaiah Likely because they go right next to each other. There's no reason that a Tajay Spears team can't have Isaiah Likely on it other than the ADP list says this is the order that they go in. So this is one of the ranges, whether it be Kraft, right, Lawrence, Besh, all those tight ends I talked about. There's probably running backs that we haven't even mentioned. It's a good range for that. I am the Kai says, I almost read that as I am the key. I am the Kai. Do you think Denver uses the tight end room different with Ingram, or is he putting up Dulcich numbers? I think they use the tight end room different with Evan Ingram. I quite like Ingram. He's one of the rare tight ends in that range, a little bit above, a little bit above Loveland, above Kraft and Goddard and Ferg and Likely, and I'm sure I'm missing some others above that. That's my sweet spot at tight end. I love that range, this range that you're seeing now start to come off the board with Likely going, Goddard going, Kraft going. But I like Ingram. There's lots of targets available in Denver. He fits, hand in glove fit with old Bo Nix and Sean Payton. Let's check it down, baby. Let's complete some dink and dunk. And that is what Evan Ingram does best. He's competing with Cortland Sutton, is a fine, solid NFL wide receiver, but Marvin Mims, Devon Vele, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, it doesn't have to be none of those guys have to win technically in terms of consolidating targets. It could just be Sutton, Ingram, and all those guys kind of chop up a bunch of shit and the offense could still be good. There doesn't always have to be 4 winners from every single offense. Usually there isn't. And so I like Ingram a good bit. Have any strong leanings on some of these guys who go, oh boy. Let's see. Golden Reed. I prefer Matthew Golden. I like Jaden Reed fine. I would just say that we kind of know what Jaden Reed is, which is a good football player and a reasonably useful best ball asset. He'll probably have a couple of big games. He's a solid football player, but I think we somewhat know what Jaden Reed is. And Matthew Golden is a first round pick rookie who probably has a little more upside in terms of what he could potentially be as an NFL wide receiver. Blue Javonte. I won't go into the rant about Jaden Blue, but I'm not into Jaden Blue. I prefer Javonte. I prefer Miles Sanders to Jaden Blue at cost, at least. If Jaden Blue were far cheaper, I would be in. And then Downs, Pittman, big time Josh Downs, especially here on this site, DraftKings.com. I much prefer. Okay, I should have paid a little bit more attention now because I'm gotten slightly locked out of quarterback, but that's okay. We're in a great tight end range. So we're going to get me some Jake Ferguson. So that worked. That worked quite well, actually. Taking Spears, passing on Likely or whatever, because I think Tajay is quite a bit better than some of these alternatives. Now my question is, am I going to do Darnold, who I don't particularly love? Do I take Geno and try to backstack him? Do I wait on Shuck? Do I wait on one of the Giants as my second quarterback? This is one of the for sure problems with old DraftKings is you can, and there goes Geno. Anyway, so the question will be if I take Sam Darnold or I take we'll see who's available here. If someone goes in these next 3 picks, which I'm currently going to guess that he will. Yeah. Big country picking out of the 12 spot. I knew that Algier I just fucking knew that Algier was going to go. Maybe I should have taken Algier over Ferg. I probably should have taken Algier over Ferg. I don't think Ferg would have got back either, but I could have done Gesicki. I could have done Pitts. I think I'm going to take my first Sam Darnold share. I think it's the right thing to do on this team. And then when I don't win because he's not playing at the end of the season, I'll complain about it. That's what we do in best ball. I do think Seattle's going to have to throw. I'm not sure that's a great thing. But on this team, we drafted JSN and we drafted Zach Charbonnet. We also stacked up that game with T-Mac. I was kind of hoping for Bryce to fall back to me. Bryce goes at the 1302 over here. And so, when you've made your bet, you've made your bed/bet, sometimes you got to lie in it or deal with it. And that is never truer than Sam Darnold on the Seattle Seahawks. If you are new to the channel for this season, you are unaware that last year Sam Darnold was my highest owned quarterback. I felt very good about that process. It's very fruitful. He was awesome for fantasy for a super cheap price. And even when McCarthy got hurt, people still doubted. People would rather not draft Justin Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson and Jones and these guys than just say, I don't know, what if the Vikings are still good with Sam Darnold? So he was a huge exploitable opportunity last season. The problem is he's on Seattle now and not on the Vikings. And I'm not saying Seattle is an incompetent organization, but KOC and the Vikings gang just get the absolute best out of these guys. They have Justin Jefferson. The weapons are insane. The coaching is insane. And they just get right. Nick Mullins is throwing for big yardage and all that with the Vikings. So moving out of Minnesota is kind of like bad offensive line with Seattle. We know what Darnold is like under pressure. The last two times we saw Sam Darnold against the Lions in week 18 and the Rams in the playoffs were disastrous for Sam Darnold. So, I have some major concerns. The talent is, I really like JSN. The talent on the Seattle offense is not awesome. It's not particularly awesome. Cooper Kupp, MVS. I like Torrey Horton quite a bit. Elijah Arroyo is not a prospect I'm super excited about. Ken Walker is like a fun talent, kind of, but I don't want a guy who's getting a bunch of negative 2-yard runs on first down when Sam Darnold is my quarterback. So Seattle feels very House of Cards-ish in that this could really all go to shit pretty quickly. Martin, look at us. Who would have guessed? First Darnold team on the same day. Who would have guessed? Jalen Wright, come on down. See, I have blue here versus Tampa Bay. So you see he's playing against my Baker Bucks. It's Baker Godwin. My Baker stack here in week 17. Plus I need running backs. Of course, I now have 5, but I am hoping to get to probably 8 on this team with 7 wide receivers. That is one big thing that I do on 0 running back teams that I think is, I don't want to say a mistake, but is a potential edge, is that I'm just drafting on all of my teams, but especially on 0 running back teams. The single biggest lesson I've learned in all the of failures drafting 0 running back teams, successes, everything is like I've finished 2 years ago. I finished 12th in Best Ball Mania with a 0 running back team, and I've had bad season with 0 running back teams. The biggest lesson I've learned through all of that is draft a higher quantity of running backs. Not necessarily, look at this, Kate Otten comes back. This is all coming up aces, baby. Yahtzee time. Get Otten for the third tight end. He stacks with Baker Mayfield. We got that game stacked. What a beautiful thing. But the single biggest, 100%, probably the biggest lesson in all of best ball for me, point blank period, nothing else, is not drafting more quarterbacks. It's not, ADP value. It's not any of that. It is draft more running backs. That has to happen within reason, right? If you draft 3 at the start, you don't need 6. But even on my hero running back Jahmyr Gibbs teams, like I still want a depth of running backs because they are the guys who can benefit in a truly outsized way when chaos happens around them. Like, look, I love Darius Slayton. Okay, I like it. I'm gonna be well overweight Darius Slayton again. De'Ami Brown goes off fourth. I was flirting with De'Ami Brown, but I can't pass on K. Dotton. Jarquez Hunter goes. This is not my favorite. That's Bernie, isn't it? 100% Bernie out of my guy B. Kurt drafting a 0 running back, a phenomenal 0 running back team with what'd you get? JMO with Goff and Dak CD. Do you have Pickens? No, but nonetheless, awesome team. Javonte, Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Will Shipley, Jarquez Hunter. Yeah, it looks like a team that I would draft in a 0 running back room. So, bravo, sir. But the running backs have the potential, particularly cheaper guys, to just pop up. Like, if you recall last year, Kendre Miller was one of my guys that I did really like, which of course was complete and utter disaster, just huge L taken over here, like mega L. But even with Kendre, even with someone, his coach hated him so bad, it just could not stand Kendre. His absolute last act as a head coach in the NFL, maybe as a coach ever, I don't know if he's employed right now, was to put a healthy Kendre Miller on IR so he would miss the next month. It came out that he straight up put a healthy Kendre Miller on IR because he hated him so much. Even with Kendre Miller, later in the season, right, everything goes to shit in New Orleans. And guess what? Kendre Miller's out there getting real touches and scoring fantasy points because running backs just have that ability. Like, there's nothing that Darius Slayton can do to let's get a little Woody Marks bring back to my lad McConkey. Oh, good God. He's the Bears defensive coordinator. Okay, I think I'm selling the Bears defense. Look, I'm also in on Kendre. And if you haven't seen this, Shuby says Kendre Kendre has life after that performance from Devin Neal. I'm not lying to you. I'll never tell whether it's because of the medicine ball, exercise ball thing or not. But I moved Devin Neal down and Kendre way up after that video. Was it causation or correlation? I don't know. We'll see. But that video, still, I'm just floored. Devin Neal looked like me, flopping around, 37 years old, not that athletic anymore. Like, maybe got a little belly on you, right? Your back hurts every time you get out of bed. Like, what in the actual fuck was that from Devin Neal? Meanwhile, Kendre just like looked like the best back in the whole Saints room. These guys. All right, where am I at? 2663. So one, I like I said, I want 2 more running backs. Let's see who fits this team. Actually, maybe I'll just go. There is Slayton. No, let's do. I'm trying to get my Audric Estime up a little bit here. I know I'm aware that J.K. Dobbins just signed, or excuse me, just met or is meeting with the Broncos. Whatever. Anyway, J.K. Dobbins is meeting with the Broncos. I'm not worried about it. Don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. I'll hold my L, but I think Audric Estime is a pretty good pick in the last round. I'm not forgetting about anybody in that. I'm currently fading Kamara for sure. I think I think last year was the peak year to still buy Alvin Kamara. Look, I'm not going to sit here and try to, tell you guys that Derek Carr is awesome. But Derek Carr with Kubiak and healthy Chris Olave and healthy Rashid Shaheed and like a reasonably competent offense where he's got the absolute fucking king of checking down to running backs in Derek Carr, I think you could tell yourself a story that maybe not as good as they were for the first couple of weeks, but you could tell yourself a story that like, why wouldn't I want the pass catching back in this scenario? Like the division stinks or whatever. Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, I have zero confidence that they're going to be able to maintain a reasonable level of NFL offense. And even with Derek Carr, Kamara started to come back down to earth. And then when Derek Carr left last year, and it was Rattler and it was Jake Haener, shout out to my Saints Madden franchise with Jake Haener, it was not the same with Alvin Kamara. Now he's a year older. They did draft a running back. It's not the business I want to be in. I'm not saying it'll never, ever happen that I draft him. I'm just saying I just like other guys around there. Yeah, for sure. You definitely don't. I absolutely. I mean, you could say I want to roll this dice, right? We only get to play this. We get to play this game one time a year, essentially. And if someone wanted to say, let's roll it out there, I'm going to draft a bunch of the backups and fade a bunch of the starters and pray, right, that a few of them get hurt or get worse or the backup's just better, right? Something happens, and I win that year. And if it doesn't, you lose. We move on to next year. I think that's fine. I think it's fine to shoot the moon, but you absolutely like. I'm not fading Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'm drafting a bunch of D-Mont. I'm not fading. Let's see. Who am I thinking about? I just drafted Bijan. Granted, it was in a super flex draft. I just drafted Bijan right before this. I'm not really excited about him, honestly, but Tyler Algier is going to be one of my highest owned players. So you do not have to. Yeah, it does not have to be. I just took Zach Charbonnet. I'm not fading Ken Walker, and I really like Zach Charbonnet, right? Like it doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't have to take a stand for sure. That's funny. Yeah, check your keyboard. Yeah, good Lord. The fucking Bears, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm glad that you said this. I'm getting quite squeamish about the Bears offense. We're all very excited. And there's a few very sharp Lions fans in our Discord that have given off some vibes that like Ben Johnson, maybe some concerning like Josh McDaniels vibes that like he's not a moron, but maybe the Lions like infrastructure and system and talent and everything is a big reason why he was successful. Again, not that he's an idiot. McDaniels had success as an offensive coordinator as well, and then got a million opportunities and failed every single time. And now he's getting another opportunity for God knows what fucking reason, beside nepotism and the good old boys club and all that. The vibes about Ben Johnson are not awesome. And like the market has just said, you know how bad Caleb was last year? I don't care. Nobody cares. So I just have some concerns. All right, let's add on. Let's add my last wide receiver, Torrey Horton. That's my first DK share of Torrey Horton. That seems bad. To go with Darnold. To go with let's move my face away from the one of my favorite parts of the Draft Hacker is the teams over here, but you can also sort by the playoff matchups, right? So Seattle, Carolina. If I go to the playoff view, all right, look, we got that puppy stacked up. Seattle and Carolina. We got Tampa Bay and Miami stacked up. Oh, look at that. Woody plus Lab McConkey as well. Oh, look at that. Tyjae. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even notice that when I drafted Tyjae and Chris Olave. So you can see your week 17 correlations over here. You can also just see, like I said, just see your teams, but then it'll also highlight if you did correlate them at all. It obviously doesn't show who the correlated player was because it shows which team they're on, but then you can kind of see, right, one off, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a bunch of different views, ownership combos, right? There's all kinds of stuff going on over here. Let's see. I will answer those last couple of questions after I draft one more running back. Did somebody see? This is I should have been paying attention. There we go. Probably my favorite last round running back right now. Probably Sean Tucker for the Bucks. Is Kendrick? Did somebody already take Kendrick? Yeah, I figured. I would have went searching for Kendrick, but somebody already took him because we can't talk about a guy without him getting drafted. Who took Kendrick? Where is it? Oh, Jesus. Is that Dad? I know you're listening, Dad. You son of a bitch. Just spilled some drink. But Sean Tucker, he also fits this team, right? We just talked about the Bucks stack that I have. Baker, Godwin, Otten, add a little Sean Tucker. I'm a big fan of team stacking in these best ball tournaments. I think it makes a ton of sense for zero running back, et cetera, et cetera. K Sizzle, shout out 70% Shipley. You are my man. I don't even have 70% Shipley, probably because every time I draft a team on stream or someone sees me in a room and it's one of you assholes, I never get a chance to take him because he goes well ahead of me. But nonetheless, Shipley is the best pick on the board still. Chamiri, DK, or Elik Iomanner. I think Iomanner, here's how I would classify it. I'm going to have more Iomanner because I think the ceiling case, I think Chamiri DK is a slot receiver. So that doesn't mean you can't have good and fantasy relevant slot receivers. They exist, right? But there is a certain level of capped upside from a 4th round pick slot receiver who was not that great of a prospect, though was maybe a little bit better than we're giving him credit for, that I gave him credit for upon, further reflection, but he's just not that great of a prospect. However, I'm going to have non-zero Chamiri DK. I'm going to have non-zero Cam Ward, Elik Iomanner, Chamiri DK, like stacks, probably toss Chig in there, toss Spears in there. The Titans are one of my favorite teams to like mega cheaply stack because they're so free. They took 2 wide receivers, as you mentioned, in the 4th round. DK actually went well ahead of Iomanner, but I think the archetype that is Iomanner and the prospect that was Iomanner puts him on a level where the ceiling is just a lot higher than DK. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. He definitely looks better in shorts. That's for sure. Yeah, that is for sure. Ross says Adams or Evans. I prefer Devontae to Evans. Raphael, how do you look up best ball exposure on browser? Subscribe to spikeweek.com. I actually don't know how to do it on DraftKings. And the final question before we start to I have to run to this lab. I'm probably getting yelled at in the Discord right now. How many are too many of one team in a stack, 5 or 6? I don't ever think that there's like necessarily too many, but I guess I'm lying a little bit. When I get to 5 or 6, that's probably a bit rich. I would say that the majority of my like team stacks get up to 4, like 4 guys, kind of like I did with the Bucks, then get a running back, maybe 2 pass catchers and the quarterback. If you want to toss another pass catcher in there, I don't think it's crazy, but in that scenario, I want to make sure I don't spend too much draft capital on that, right? If I draft Baker, Evans, Godwin, Ibuka, and it's like, I don't want to keep adding. There is a point of diminishing returns, even though the stack has a lot of power both over the course of the season and in a playoff week. So shout out to you, C-Spot. Thank you guys for joining me. As mentioned, the Wednesday shows will be probably going to, I don't know, DraftKings, Underdog, whatever. We'll bounce around on Wednesdays, but we'll do one draft. If you're not in the Discord, the lab is going live right after this in the Spike Week Discord, which of course there is a link to. I'll be back tomorrow with our new wheel rule drafts that we're doing. If you did not watch, go back and watch last week where I had to draft a team where I took all players with a different letter of their last name, right? The first letter of their last name. I had to draft all 20 players, had to have a different letter of their last name. And I forget what no one over 6 foot tall. I did 2 drafts. The other one was no one could be over 6 foot tall. The folks in the Discord are giving me these rules, and I spin the wheel and it tells me what rule I have to follow for that draft. So that will be tomorrow. And then you know what's coming. We got Legendary Sickos this weekend. I got a special little 0RB pod I'm recording tomorrow as well. All sorts of good stuff. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.